And welcome back to Pudge Nation on Sports Radio Corpus Christi, KSIX Corpus Christi, 1230 AM, 95.1 FM. Streaming live on the internet there for you at pudgenation.com, www.pudgenation.com. The new sensation across the nation, everybody's favorite new website. And by the way, it's not just a website, it's a lifestyle. All right, it's an attitude, is what I'm trying to tell you. Of course, let's see, you're listening to America's only rock and roll sports talk show. Happens to be the only talk show in America that when it's all said and done, talk show host, right side of history. If you don't believe me, ask the Denver Nuggets, they'll tell you. Yeah, absolutely. And let's see what else we got here.
Ask Miami.
Yeah, ask them all. There you go. Let's see. Oh, you can call the show, text the show if you'd like it. 361-884-1230. That's 361-884-1230. We also have social media available.
Socialist media.
Yeah. Let's see. You got YouTube, and something tells me that wasn't Pat Riley. Oh, okay, I gotcha. YouTube, Facebook Live, just go to Pudge Nation. TikTok, go to Pudge_Nation. Instagram, go to Pudge Nation Live. And then Twitter, and on air with Pudge. Okay, today is the 8th of June. Oh, we're just blazing through that first week there in the month of June, the 6th month of the year already, man. Just before you know it, I'll be playing Christmas music is what I'm trying to tell you. All right?
And
Absolutely.
As the Beatles told us all, there are 8 days in a week.
8 days a week, that's right. And of course, your forecast for today. Well, right now we got a bank of clouds, kind of like it's just made it a little gray here. But later on, it's going to be a beautiful sunshiny day. All right.
Thank you, Johnny.
High, yeah, absolutely. High is going to get up to 90, low 75. Currently outside it is 75, and so it's going to be a warm night. I think this is like the first time this year where the temperature is going to start with a 9. So just be prepared. All right, is what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, especially on ladies' night, We want to congratulate the Sinton Pirates. They were in a marathon baseball game last night, went 12 innings. They lost to China Springs. Final score was, I believe, 6-4, if I'm not mistaken, was the final score. So that puts an end to a phenomenal season for the Sinton Pirates. We saw Coach Alanis on the on KIII had a weird broadcast last night. Yeah. Well, yeah, but here's the weird part. So they had the game, right? They had the game 3 of the NBA Finals in which Denver won 109-94, took a 2-1 lead in the best of 7 series of the NBA Finals, right? And so now it's over, right? Okay, now we go to the KIII news, and of course there's Leslie, and there's Rudy, and Alan. They're doing their whole thing, kind of doing an on-delay version. You're like, on-delay, let's go, because we've got a short amount of time. Well, then they check in with Chris Thomason. Is that right? I'm saying that. Yeah, Chris Thomason over there. Yeah, no, it was Chris, sports guy there.
Dan McReynolds.
No. Yeah, so
is he?
So it was Chris, and he's doing a live shot from Austin. And he's showing highlights, right? And he shows highlights, because the game went 12 innings. It's the longest baseball game in the history there, the high school baseball playoffs and so forth. So it ran late. So they really didn't even have a chance to put together, a solid edited highlights package to show us, right? But they did have highlights, and so they're just, putting them out there. And actually, it turned out pretty good, the highlight package they had. But and so they show the highlights, and oh man, we lost right after 12 innings. So now they're showing interviews. So they're interviewing the coach, where they had, they'd gone up after the game and interviewed the coach, Coach Alanis, and then they went to some of the players. And asked them for their thoughts. Hey, how do you feel? The season's over. The season ended. Give me some insight. How you feel and all this stuff. Well, so they show one guy, and then they show another guy, and then they get to the third guy, and kid, a player from Sinton, and midway, all of a sudden, the logo. What is it? Cigna? Who owns KIII?
I don't know.
Yeah. So whoever owns KIII, their logo. Tegna, there you go. Yeah, their logo comes on, and their swooping theme music. Yeah, and it was like, hey, peace. It was done. I mean, they didn't even, Chris didn't get to say adios, muchacho. Not even Leslie. I mean, who cuts off Leslie? Heads are rolling, man. Leslie, it's one thing for do that to Chris, but to do that to Leslie.
Is this another Heidi game?
No,
What happened is Jimmy Kimmel owns the NBA Finals.
Yeah, but wait. No. Well, that's the thing. Not this year. No, because the writer's strike is not allowing him to be able to do that. So they're having to show old Jimmy Kimmel shows. So I don't know why they had to, but man, they cut off the kid from Sinton. If I'm mom and dad in Sinton and that's my kid, oh, pissed. Just saying.
But it's KIII.
Yeah.
They are not like us.
Yeah.
They're not like this show. Yeah, this show that can go
forever,
over an hour with no commercial break.
Well,
interviewing Sean Strawbridge.
No, this is all proof positive on why TV sucks.
Yeah,
right? Because they're not cool like us, where we can just like, I just did not only that, but up the rules. You know how I am. Damn the man. Well, I guess I'm kind of like the man. Yeah. So anyway, so damn me. Yeah, I know, right? But yeah. So.
Gosh darned the pusher, man.
Yeah. So I get hopefully that the poor player from Sinton gets to finish his comments. Yeah. Well, even with that loss, one game away from the title, I still say Alanis is gone. I still say, I bet you he probably had 45 job interviews after that game was over. But anyway, congratulations, Sinton, on a great season, and already preparing for next season. Plus, how bad can it be? You had to spend 2 days in Austin. Or worse, it could have been like Davenport, Iowa, Kearney, Nebraska,
Yeah, Austin used to be the great getaway, but now it's...
I know, we were talking about that, yeah.
It's like the worst of Dallas times the worst of Houston squared.
Thank you, Sticks. Okay. Last night, the Toronto Blue Jays were rude. They're the home team. You're supposed to be nice to your guests, right?
Don't get me started.
Well, I know. Canada's on a roll. I thought they were like a friendly country. What the hell? No, they're not. Well, they defeated Houston 3-2, the Astros, that is. Meanwhile, Texas also. Texas goes, and they only allow St. Louis to score 1 run. Yeah, the problem is Texas only scored 0. So, which once again, that's baseball. For you football aficionados, that'd be the equivalent of 7-0. Okay, but it's 1-0. But it's okay because why? That's why. Because baseball plays 378,294 games in a season. So, so you lose a game, whoopee-doo. We just get right back at it, right? So coming up, let's see, tonight, 5:35, Mike? 5:35, we're going to have pregame for the Houston-Toronto game. First pitch, get a load of this, Tom, 6:07.
Not 6:06.
No, and not 6:08. Hell no. Heads will roll if the first pitch is at 6:08. First pitch is at 6:07. Can you imagine there's some intern there with like a watch going, all right, wait for it. Wait for it. Unbelievable. Texas gets the night off, and they're going to they got a weekend series with Tampa, which, believe it or not, Tampa is like this monster team in the AL East, first place. Yeah, over the Yankees and the Red Sox. Figure that one out, right? So anyway, so that'll be a fun series, and it'll take place in Florida, which means that Rondo, I bet you Rondo goes over there like in a robe, like Nero, and gives the kid gets struck, one of the Florida Marlins gets struck out, or Miami Marlins, whatever the hell they call themselves these days, or like Tampa Bay in this case, Tampa Bay Rays. I bet you he sticks his thumb in a plum. Yeah, well, she goes there, sticks her thumb in a plum, and thumbs down, and all of a sudden they kill a baseball player. You think Rondo likes baseball?
It's the American pastime, and he is obviously anti-American.
Well, no. Well, Rhonda Santis, I'm sure she likes softball, right? Is that what it is? She likes softball? Because College World Series. Yeah, absolutely. Rhonda's in Texas right now.
Before we get more uncomfortable, let's remind our guests here.
Oh, what?
that
who's uncomfortable?
Ron DeSantis. We were the ones who discovered that Ron DeSantis is a transgender man.
Yeah, it's in the name.
And no, the way we discovered it was Pudge, talk in your ex-wife's voice.
Well, I've been married 3 times. Okay.
That's the voice of his ex-wife. Is that not a dead ringer for Ron DeSantis' voice? Yeah. Say it again.
Kind. What am I, a monkey? What am I here? Put a quarter in my ear. Why don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the point is, that's scientific proof. that Ron DeSantis is actually a transgender man.
And you know how sometimes, sometimes in life,
there's nothing wrong with that, obviously, except for him being so.
Hey, Tom, relax, man.
He's so, he's so.
Well, no. The thing is that sometimes
hypocritical.
Sometimes things are in front of you, but you just don't realize it because it's in front of you.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's in the name the whole time. Ron he's been saying Ron DeSantis, right? No, he was born Rhonda. He was born Rhonda, last name Santis, and then what we found out this last week, it turns out he changed the pronunciation of his last name. He's actually Santis. Not kidding. That's like fact. That's fact. So it turns out, Ron DeSantis is a Latina. Who knew?
Yeah,
I didn't. Right?
Is a undocumented transgender man.
Tom's really struggling over here, isn't he?
Yeah,
this is hilarious.
Yeah, undocumented.
It's okay, Tom. Relax.
Man.
I got this. All right. Well, anyway,
we should fly him to
the moon. Fly him to the moon. Okay, NBA Finals last night, as I alluded to, the heavily favored Denver Nuggets defeated the Miami Heat in 109-94. Denver takes a 2-1 lead, best of 7 series. Game 4 will take place tomorrow night, poker night, Friday in Miami. We'll see what happens there. NHL Game 3 is tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Stanley Cup Finals, where Vegas is taking on. What is it with Florida, man? Unbelievable. Anyway, so yeah, right now Vegas is leading the best of 7 series in the Stanley Cup 2-0. Game 3 tonight. Puck-off time is at 7 o'clock. It'll be televised on TNT, TBS, and according to you, Mike, you said it's also on True TV. Yeah, who knew? What? No lie.
True No ETV.
All right. Now, we're going to have a conversation right now.
Yes, we are.
All right, and we have some guests in the studio. So straighten up and fly right, boys. We have guests. And by the way, Mike, good job on the vacuuming. I appreciate you doing that before everybody got here.
Comb your hairs.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal, kids. This month of June is Pride Month.
Yes, it is.
All right. Which, once again, the African-American community is going, oh, really? They get a whole, we got 28 days over here. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, the gays get 30 days. What the hell's that all about? Well, in any case, it is Pride Month, right?
Yes.
And so we proudly fly the pride flag here in the studio, much to the chagrin of a lot of people. It's funny. I won't name the company. I don't know. But I was in a meeting yesterday with a big company, a very well-known company here in town. And and we'll talk about, the outcome of that meeting at another time. But in any case, in the conversation, in fact, all parties involved were fascinated. It stopped the meeting in that we realized that we couldn't believe that this question had to be asked. And that was because the company I was talking to is friendly with the LGBTQ community. And then they looked at me and said, if I was a friendly station to the LGBTQ community. And so I kind of chuckled, guffawed maybe even chortled, because I heard myself actually answering that question. And I was like, well, yeah. I said, first of all, we fly the flag in the studio. I said, we've had teachers and drag queens on this show. Mm-hmm. And I asked the drag queens exactly how many children they've turned gay while reading. And then I also asked them how many times when they were in a public school library did they read while naked and doing an actual full-blown sexual act while reading in front of the children. Because, that's what divas do, And so, see how stupid that sounds, right? Anyway. Yeah. So we actually had to stop the meeting, and we were talking about that. I mean, I DJ'd in gay bars, I don't know how long. I DJ'd over at the Bottom in San Antonio. I DJ'd at gay clubs in the Valley, here in Corpus. I DJ'd in nightclubs from the age of 17 until I was 41. So, I know, right? And then, and my home was always the safe home.
Yeah.
I have members of my family that are gay, and their fathers weren't accepting, just complete jerks. And so my cousins would actually come to my home for the summer and the weekends and so forth, because we were a safe home, which you've heard me talk about Alfred. I mean, Alfred was crazy, my dad, but he was fine. Alfred was like, hey, what? In fact, true story. So dad makes it to upper management of AT&T. My dad was like, he was the head chingon of AT&T, right, in San Antonio. Somebody took a picture of him in his office, right? And so he brings the picture home, right? And he's showing us at the table. You know, there's me, my brother, my sister, my mom. And he says, hey, check out the picture of my office. But we never really seen his office, you know? So I was like, oh, how about that? And so all of a sudden I realized that on his window, you know, he's one of those offices where you got the door and then you got windows, right? And so on the window
office.
On the window, he had a rainbow sticker.
Uh-huh.
And I looked and I go, hey, Dad, when did you get the sticker? He says, oh, I've had it for a while. I go, no kidding. I said, and you put the sticker on your window? He goes, yeah. He says, I thought it was pretty cool looking, so I put it on my window. I look and I go, and that's when Elaine and Aaron, my brother and my sister, both of their heads came up from their food, going, "Oh boy, here we go," because of course I couldn't be given this kind of a gift, you know, and not take advantage of it. So I looked at my dad and I go, "You do know what that rainbow sticker means, right?" And he looks at me and he goes, and even my mother, she got up, she's like, "Oh, here we go," you know, and he goes, "No, what?" I said, "Well, that's a gay pride sticker. So by you putting that sticker on your window, what you're saying to your staff and to the company is that your office is a safe place where it's accepting, and if anybody's feeling like they're being oppressed or abused or anything like that, they can come to your office and they're safe." And so my dad was like, huh? You know? And so he had no idea. And so, but to Dad's credit, you know, I repeated it to him and he goes, huh? That's cool. I just thought it was a good looking sticker, you know? So.
Now is the time where we must interrupt this monologue to point out, perspective-wise, when was this, Pudge? How long ago was this?
This would have been... No. This would have been about mid-90s.
Okay.
So 30 years ago.
The point being that it is so much easier to be an ally now.
Right.
Than to have been an ally
back then. 30 years ago. Not only that, but like I said,
let's layer that on.
Well, on top of that, like I said, I mean, he was upper management of AT&T, you know. So that being said, in the little setup I got going here is that I'd like to welcome our guest that we have this morning. First of all, I want to welcome Adair Apple to the show. Good morning, Adair.
Good morning.
And I'm saying your name right?
Yes.
Okay. I always want to make sure I get that. Because if you saw my name, and my name gets butchered. Oh.
Mine does too.
Really? Yeah. No, Alfredo Miguel Cervantes IV. Okay,
I can.
Boom. Done. Yeah. They're like, oh, what? Yeah. So anyway.
I get Adair.
Adair. Oh, do you?
Of
Okay.
people I've known for a long time. So.
And they still say Adair? Yeah. Okay. And then your son.
Yes.
Okay. And your son is Charlie. Good morning, Charlie.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, well, welcome to the show, Charlie.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, how old are you, Charlie?
I'm 19.
You're 19. And you are transgender.
I am, yeah. I'm a transgender man.
Here, come on up to the microphone here.
I'm so sorry.
No. That's fine. It's just like, you know, it's a crazy little thing here.
Yeah, I'm a transgender man, and I've been out since I was about 12 years old.
Since you were 12?
Yeah.
Okay, so this isn't something like you just did last week.
No.
So 7 years is...
Yeah.
Now, okay, so full disclosure to the audience, I normally don't talk to our guests before I start the conversation or interview, like when we're in a commercial break, but I wanted to talk to you beforehand to make sure I don't say anything too much where I'm going to get inappropriate. So still, same thing, help me out here as we go through this conversation, all right? All right, Charlie?
All right.
All right. Now, so let me ask you this, Charlie. Let's just go back to the beginning. When did you know that something, and I'm going to use these words, but that something was different?
I mean, it's such a hard question to ask.
But
like, you know, when did you know you were straight? You know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
No, but it's a fair one. And I think it was very much like once I hit puberty, I was like, these things are just...
Turn the microphone towards them. There you go. Yeah, just pull it towards them. There you go. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, these things are just...
That's fine.
That's when it becomes painfully obvious. I'm like, okay, I'm not like other kids in my grade. Like, I'm not going through the same things that they are. And but I didn't have the language to put that into words. So,
were you fascinated as a young person when this conversation started coming out in the public more often?
I was scared.
It was a fascination.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were scared?
Yeah, no, I was terrified because the big thing that was going on, I came out in 2016, which that was the Trump presidential election, and that was the bathroom bill.
And he came out as gay.
Yeah.
Came out as
In
gay.
2016.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, but by that point, I knew I was having gender difficulties.
Right.
And then the year after that, I ended up coming out as transgender, and it was just scary because
Now, well, what's the difference between saying you're gay and saying you're transgender?
well, gay is sexuality-wise. It's like, this is who I'm attracted to. Transgender is who I am. It's like I'm a man and I'm attracted to the other men.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So we're talking with Charlie, transgender man, and his mother Adair is here. Now, Adair, your mom.
Yes.
Did you freak?
Actually, when he came out as gay, I was blown away. I didn't see that one coming, and so.
So you didn't. So watching your son growing up, you didn't have that like,
No.
No.
No, because I think we tried to raise Charlie to just be himself.
Right.
His whole life. I never tried to say you have to be this way. I mean, Charlie had always loved like Star Wars, but we all love Star Wars.
Yeah, he doesn't love Star Wars. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And my husband says, he remembers when Charlie wanted to play baseball. And my husband went out and got him the pink mitt and all of that kind of stuff.
Right,
and
right.
he was like, oh, hey, we're going to get you into softball. And Charlie's like, I want to play baseball.
Right.
And they started trying to do it, and there was just no interest, and he just kind of shut us down. And so, I mean, but no, we had no idea.
No.
No.
And so was you and your husband when your son came to you and said, "Hey, here's the deal."
Mm-hmm.
As a couple, as parents,
Right.
what was that conversation like that night?
We were just scared. I mean, we'd always been allies, but
Now it was in your home.
knowing your child is part of a marginalized community all of a sudden
Right.
is terrifying. I mean, we live in Texas, so we hear it all
Yeah.
the time.
Oh yeah.
And I was a teacher at the time, and I would hear the things people say, even teachers, and I was scared. I was very scared.
We're
So-
talking with Adair Apple and her son Charlie, who's 19 years old, and so you came out when you were 12.
Yes.
Now, when you came out, did you come out to your friends as well?
Oh, I came out to my friends way before I came out to my parents.
Okay, and how are your classmates with this whole thing?
Weird. I lost some friends, of course, because that's just part of it. I ended up coming out to a very good friend of mine, and she was just like, "Okay, that's it. I don't want to hang out with you anymore."
Oh, really? Okay. All
But
right.
I also ended up finding out that a lot of the friends I was already hanging out with were queer as well, and in the process of figuring that out or getting there.
Right.
So I found a lot of support there, which made it a lot less intimidating to come out to my friends rather than my parents at the time.
Right.
Because they love you, but you never know how they're going to react to something like that,
Now, Charlie, are you from Corpus?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so if you don't mind, where'd you go to school?
Well, we were living at Portland in the time,
Oh,
so
okay.
I went to GP.
You went to GP.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
there's a hotbed of gayness. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So as the word got out,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what was your name before Charlie? No,
We don't usually say
we don't do that.
I mean-
okay, yeah, okay, we don't say it. Okay,
I mean,
That's
but
fine.
okay, that's fine. We'll leave it there. But
no,
when you were using the prior name,
yeah,
and now you go to Charlie,
yeah.
did your GP community embrace it, or were they like, "Oh, give me a break," that type of thing?
So my dead name is what we call like the name before
Okay.
you change your name.
Dead name.
Dead
Dead
name.
name.
Okay,
because
okay,
that's
all right,
my- yeah.
okay.
You never dead name people,
Yeah.
so you never call them by their prior name.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
don't.
really?
Yeah, no,
Oh, okay.
it's just like.
Well, like we said before the
Right.
conversation, I'm going to be asking questions like, I'm here to learn.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
No.
So like right there, I just learned something. Dead name, never heard of that.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
don't
okay,
worry about it.
okay.
This just isn't context that people often have, and
Yeah.
it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
But my dead name was very different from Charlie because, I just kind of
Yeah.
wanted to move on from that.
Right.
And it really wasn't accepted. I had friends who used it, and my parents were starting to learn to use it, but I
Well-
didn't really transition at GP. I just kind of I ended up homeschooled not soon after because it was
Okay.
very, very stressful.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
That's what people don't realize is, I mean, Charlie was under a lot of stress when he realized he was LGBTQ, and then wasn't even totally accepted by his friends. And so he started having migraines his 6th grade year and missed a lot of school. And so we didn't
physical
know
health.
what, yes, it affects people's physical health. So we didn't know what was going on at the time and ended up homeschooling him for the next 2 years.
You know, I had tried to transition at GP. It just did not go well. I was already badly bullied, and this was just fuel to the fire.
Right.
And, you know, a litany of slurs and that sort of thing that, you know, you wouldn't assume 13-year-old kids would be able to call someone, but they did. And, you know, obviously that had effects on my physical and mental health. So things were pretty bad, and I just kind of pulled back from doing that publicly.
We're talking with Adair Apple, who has been kind enough to bring her transgender son to the show, Charlie. He's 19 years old. Tom, you got a question?
Yeah, so now it's time to transition to another topic here.
Wow.
A topic that's related is that you're describing what a person goes through, okay? Now, kids go through this, and it's tough enough as it is, and then let's layer on that the people who are supposed to be looking out for us in government, especially in our state government right now, instead of being supportive, what do? And you know better than me because you are up on it, right? Let's go through some of this litany of, horrible stuff that our legislature has done.
Yeah, so this last legislative session, there have been 140 anti-LGBT bills that have been presented.
Which is insane, because I think the United States had, what, was it 400 to 500 across all the states, and 140 here just in Texas.
Yeah.
Well, way to overachieve, Texas.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Our only competitor is Florida, I think.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Shocker. Yeah, second place is Florida. Okay.
Now, the good news of that is only 7 of those bills passed out of 140 presented.
Right.
But the bad news is those 7 bills are really, really bad.
Okay.
Among those are the drag ban, the healthcare ban for trans youth, and another athlete ban that would prevent trans athletes from competing on a collegiate level, as well as like bans to diversity and education, inequality and inclusivity initiatives in colleges, and there's also stuff to allow schools to replace counselors with chaplains.
Oh, wow.
And books and
Oklahoma just approved funding for a Catholic school, using public funds for a Catholic school. That just happened in Oklahoma. Let me ask you this, Charlie. Since, the umbrella on our shows or our stations that we predominantly sport. And we have listeners that's been conversation we've had in the past, and I don't have the answer. And that is that the whole transgender conversation with regards to where does a person compete? Is it fair that a person who was born as a man now transitions to being a woman and now goes and competes in track and field and is beating the women's field by 50 yards in a run or something like that and getting all the medals? You transitioning from a girl to a boy, from a woman to a man, what are your thoughts with regards to transgender involvement in sport?
So I actually did sports. I've done martial arts my whole life, and I was a wrestler in high school. And at the time, I did compete on the women's team.
Did you compete UIL?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you competed though on the women's side.
Yes.
Okay. Did you feel uncomfortable doing that?
I did, because I was on the women's team and I looked like a man.
So the other team's going, hey, you guys have
I mean, you can imagine that the other teams were very, very confused.
Okay, but from a physiological standpoint, were you on a level of a woman's muscle strength and agility and so forth, as opposed to...
I mean, I very much take issue with that, because I could easily roll with women as well well as men. I could, easily beat some of the guys on my team, and some of the girls could absolutely whoop my butt,
Right.
But the big thing is, I don't feel like this conversation is one we are capable of having right now, especially relating to high school sports, where sports are more about the community and being able to interact with other kids and getting that opportunity than actually winning.
Right.
And on top of that, there are only about 10 trans athletes who are out and competing on the gender that they, identify with, that team, in the whole of the U.S.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
In the U.S., 10?
Between,
more or less.
Between 10 to 20, not a lot.
Right.
And they aren't completely winning, but these are the people you hear about, because it's not about the trans athletes winning. It's about the trans athletes being able to be visible and happy.
Well, you would acknowledge, though, that ignorance fuels awkwardness, right?
Yeah.
Tom, can I just butt in for a second to get inside Billy Bob's head, and then let's address one thing. Nobody transitions for the sake of having an advantage in competitive athletics, right? That has never happened before in the history of humankind.
Unless you're Caitlyn
that somebody transitioned so that they would have an advantage in a sport.
Nobody puts themselves into a marginalized community on purpose.
Transitioning is not easy.
It's not easy, no.
Okay, that should be carved into a building in stone, what you just said.
Let me ask you this, because once again, I'm learning.
Of course.
I've never had, I hear myself getting ready to say this. How would I know? But I don't think I've ever had a conversation with somebody that's transgender. But then again, how would I know, right? So I've got a lot of questions. And it's genuine curiosity, not from a voyeuristic standpoint, but from a communication standpoint.
And I just want to make clear, when people ask questions, that's okay. It's okay to ask questions as long as you're not being
you're respectful.
mean about it.
No. I think you guys. I hope you can figure out real quick. My heart's in the right place.
Of course.
But how? Because like you were saying, it was 2016 when you came out.
Yeah.
And at that time, Trump has just gone into office, and the bathroom bill and all that. Let's talk about the bathroom bill.
Of course.
I don't even know where to go with that, but how awkward, or you're like, what's the big deal? Or is it, I guess you just naturally, there's absolutely nothing to you that goes, I gotta go pee, I'm going to the men's room. Right? Okay. But yet somebody would, freak out a whole bit. Have you experienced that where they're like...
So, I have a very embarrassing story from whenever I was in high school. So I had been well untransitioned whenever I started high school. And at the time, I only really felt comfortable using the women's bathroom because, you're a high schooler and you don't want to get in trouble with your admins and that sort of thing. But as time went on and I began to get further into my medical transition and that sort of thing, I was like, okay, I can't keep using the women's bathroom. And one day I was pulled into an office and they said, hey, Charlie, you're making women in the bathroom feel uncomfortable because, you're in there and you look like a man. And I'm like, oh, cool. Can I use the men's restroom now?
Right.
They were like, no, you got to use the restroom in the library. And I was like, well, why? But you're not a man. Well, I'm uncomfortable enough I'm enough of a man to not use the women's restroom. But not to be able to use the men's. So what I ended up doing is I didn't tell them I was using the men's restroom, and I never received a complaint.
No.
And it was no big deal.
Yeah, I told Charlie, it's just fly under the radar.
If you go to an IHOP, and hey, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And nobody's going like, what the hell? It's just.
I don't even think about it now. It's just that is the restroom I use.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I remember when Charlie, when he was early in his transition, and maybe we'd be in a restaurant, and we would literally watch him, just to make sure he was okay, and we would time him,
Well, Mom, how nervous have you and your husband been through this whole thing?
It's
I'd have an ulcer. I'd have an ulcer. Always worried. You worry about your child nonstop. My child is now in her mid-20s,
and I still worry about her as if she was like, 10.
Right.
It doesn't stop.
No.
So, but my daughter is straight, and so I don't have that added worry that I'm guessing you and your husband.
Yeah.
What help have you received as a parent? Any?
No, we just kind of rely on each other and the community and the Pride Center. I mean, there's a community out there for parents of LGBTQ kids and parents just, of trans kids. And we've just relied heavily on them. And we've tried to plan this out. We've always just followed Charlie's lead. So it's always been, okay, what's next? What do we need to do for you? But yeah, it's tough. I mean, I worry every day about my child being the victim of a hate crime. And
it's a legitimate fear.
It is. It is a very legitimate fear. So
Charlie, do you find Corpus being accepting?
Not really,
Not really.
unfortunately.
No. Yeah,
And
it is what it is.
It is one of those things where the Corpus Christi LGBT community is near and dear to my heart and one of the most vibrant communities I've ever been in. But Corpus itself is really hard, and I don't really live in Corpus anymore. I live up in Dallas now.
Oh,
and,
okay.
It's been a massive difference in
acceptance.
acceptance.
Dallas is a little bit more sophisticated. Okay. Yeah, Tom?
I was just going to say, the thing that fascinates me about things like the bathroom bill, what fascinates me is the fascination. Why are you fascinated with that? Why do you even care? It's like, okay, they're going to the bath. Why are you trying to follow them into the bathroom to see all this stuff?
Hang on, Tom.
And why? Okay, it goes back to it's when I had my epiphany back in early college. It's like, how can two dudes do that? I'm like, why are you even wondering about it? I mean, why are you wondering about it? And those are two dudes that, from the dude perspective here, aren't chasing women. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I wish I was the only non-gay man in the world. Because I have all the women's. So why the fascination?
Hang on.
It's to keep people in the closet. It's to keep people out of public life. If you can't go in a bathroom.
Hang on, though. I must say this, because I know some heads are exploding. I love to play devil's advocate, but let me go down this road. Okay, I'm a girl dad. You're going to have to forgive me, but if my daughter is 12 years old and we're at the same IHOP, and I see a man walk into that restroom while my daughter's in there, we're going to have a problem.
Of course.
Okay, because, and then when the man looks at me, of course, I see that a man has walked in, but then the guy comes walking in and goes, no, I'm Barbara. I'm Sally. I'm Gertrude. And I identify as a woman. So I went, you're going to need a little bit more than that to convince me that, hey, perv, what the hell, dude? There's a men's room right there. You're obviously a man. Get in there. And I'm rescuing my daughter. Yeah. There are people that feel that way. And I can understand if that's the genesis of this type of bill. I think where it gets hijacked, though, is when you hear the rhetoric of these politicians, pandering to their base and taking it further than the conversation needs to go, just to kind of trigger some people. You know what I'm saying?
And the thing is, I completely get that instinct because that's a scary concept. But it's also important to understand that trans people are significantly more afraid of what you will do to them than what they will do to you.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to find someone who is untransitioned walking into the restroom because they know they can be beat up for that. Trans women in particular are so much more prone to having being violently attacked.
Have you been violently attacked?
I've never been attacked, but I've definitely had some people who have probably wanted to. In school, I've been called, like I said, a litany of slurs, and I was very out. Everyone knew I was trans.
Right.
And I've had some people get very, very aggressive with me, and there have been times I have been scared that I might be assaulted in a moment.
We're talking with Charlie, who is a transgender man. He's 19 years old. Grew up here in the Corpus, Gregory, Portland area. And his mom, Adair Apple, who's stopped by here to chat with us and kind of give me just a surface introduction into this whole conversation. And I greatly appreciate you both coming and doing that with us. where are you now as far as mentally? Well, and once again, I don't even. I'm going to ask because it's the questions it's asked, but I feel stupid asking. But you keep saying how you're transitioned.
Yeah.
So biologically, have you done all those procedures
I've done everything I wanted to.
that you want to do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
No,
Now,
I mean,
what's the dating world like for you?
I mean, so far it's been great. I have a lovely boyfriend. We're running up on our 4-year anniversary this month on June 20th.
Okay, that's where you lost me now.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, you have a boyfriend?
I have a boyfriend, yeah.
Okay, wait, I don't understand.
He's a gay man.
Yeah.
See,
He said that up front. He's a gay man.
so you okay, let's just work. Well,
Don't worry about
It used to confuse me too.
okay, so hang on. Just let me. I swear to God, I'm not being stupid on
No,
this. I'm trying
I
to-
believe you.
Okay, so
No,
hang on.
no,
Okay,
don't worry.
Okay, so born as a girl,
Yeah.
felt odd.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, I'm not a girl. I'm a boy.
Yes.
Becomes boy.
Yes.
Because that's
But-
what's in his brain.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it becomes boy, but while becoming boy, realizes, wait a minute, I am a gay boy.
Yeah, no.
And that I am attracted to other boys.
No, it was really interesting because, as you'll remember, I came out as gay before I came out as trans.
Right.
And there was such a disconnect between my body and how I felt for other people that I was like, oh, obviously I'm not into men, but once I started presenting that way, and I'm like, oh, I'm a man who loves men.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting thing how these things can sometimes interact and
Okay.
meld together.
And so you guys have been together how long?
4 years.
Boy, well, that's
Yeah.
better than my streak. So who am I to judge, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Gender and sexuality,
Two different things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You see, I think
Thank
that's
you.
the key. That's the key. When you
Right.
talk to a lot of people, like the ones that have a problem with the drag show,
Yeah.
they immediately think that it's all about sex.
No.
That all the divas want to do is jump children and be pedophiles, and turn the children gay. Not realizing it's like, no, it's a little bit more involved in sex. There's a lot more to it than this. Let me ask you this, Mom. Was there ever a time, and once again, I know it sounds like there's not much of a support system here for you and Dad here, but was there ever a time when all this was just starting that you looked at each other in the privacy of your own bedroom maybe, or your home or whatever, and you asked yourself, what did we do wrong?
Oh no.
No?
Because I have a wonderful child.
Oh, I'm sure, but right now, is it fair to say that there are some families though that where they feel like the parents feel like it's their fault, like they did something wrong?
Yes, but I mean, we were never those people. And I don't know. I mean, it was never a question of what we did wrong. It was just a question of what do we do next.
How were your parents? Your parents?
My parents, growing up, you were talking about in the 90s. That's when I was in high school. And back in the 90s, we didn't talk about gay people. If they had the earring, guys had one earring on one side, we're like, is that the gay side?
Right.
And it just wasn't something we talked about. And my parents never talked about it. So I just never had a problem with gay people.
Right.
And, were my parents affirming? Not really.
A little shock to the system, I'm sure. Right.
Yeah, and it's not a great situation.
Yeah.
My husband's family is much more affirming and accepting of Charlie, and so it's just one of those. It's just one
more
of those
thing.
things we
Yeah.
deal with.
Yeah.
And that's my mother's choice.
Yeah.
And so we just don't interact as much.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Charlie.
And I did think it was an interesting question you
Here,
asked.
come to the microphone.
You asked about how, did you feel ashamed when I came out? Because I know I did. I felt very ashamed of myself. And it's one of those things where if you're told constantly that what you are is a bad person, obviously you start to feel like a bad person. So if someone's a parent and they feel like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? That's a very fair reaction to have, because that's what you've been told your whole life, that this is wrong. And it's one of those things of learning to love yourself, learn your to love your community and who you are. And it's a process, and it's hard, especially for a 13-year-old. Like, I don't know if y'all remember being 13.
God, I was an idiot.
I
That's all
wrote
I
a
know.
song for my daughter about when she was 13.
Yeah.
And I remember, okay, and this is so different, so not even in the same league, but
Of course.
she's 13 years old, and she tells me one day, she says, "Dad, I'm not pretty." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "None of the boys, blah, 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 all the boys, blah, 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 blah." And I said, "You know what? You are in a school with a bunch of little jerks, okay? And let me tell you what's going to happen. When you're 16 or 17, when you're like a junior and a senior in high school, you're going to be out on dates every Saturday night, and they are going to wish they were on a date with you, but it's not going to happen for them because you will remember, you know." And that is exactly what happened. You know, my daughter's scorecard was full, and her senior year she had like the perfect boyfriend because he was athletic, he was cool, he was a cool kid. I gotta admit, he was a cool kid. I had to accept that he was a cool kid. But it's what we were bringing up earlier is you had very supportive parents, and that I would venture to say might even be unusual. I mean, I think parents work their way to becoming supportive parents. I'm going to say two words: Dick. Let that hang for a minute. Cheney. Dick Cheney.
Right.
Okay? So, Dick Cheney had to go through he had to go through some things, right? But he did. Okay? In the end he was a dad, Okay? And so you have supportive parents, and this has been a tough road. This is a tough road, right?
Yeah.
It's tough enough. But you have supportive parents. And again, that's probably unusual because, say, some parents like, "What did I do wrong?" How about the ones that go, "Well, I didn't do a damn thing wrong."
Exactly.
The kid's what's wrong. Ain't nothing wrong with me. It's with the kid, So, and there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of, you know what? As soon as you're 18, you're out of the house. You know what? I'm not waiting until you're 18. All that kind of stuff. So,
Let me
talk
ask
about
you
that
this.
a minute.
Yeah, Charlie, if there was something, I don't know how often you have a public conversation like this, and I know this is probably a little unnerving, a little unsettling, so I appreciate you even putting yourself in a vulnerable position like this and talking to two idiots over here. But if there was something you wanted to just make sure that is conveyed to everybody out there, whether they're straight, whether they're gay, or any part of the LGBTQ, what is it you want to make sure that you get across to them?
It's not a bad thing to be confused. It's not a bad thing to be very, scared. This is a new conversation, and you're seeing new things in the public sphere, and maybe you've never heard someone who has publicly said, "Hey, I'm a transgender man, and I'm talking to you now." But you do just have to remember that we're people, and people don't go out and try and I'm gonna sexually assault people, and this is what I'm going to do, make my life about. We are just people. And I just want to live my life and live it happily, just like you. And I think that goes doubly for whenever you're dealing with transgender children. And I think the big thing we need to understand about this conversation is the primary, victims of this targeting are kids. And I was a kid, and I was a trans kid, and I dealt with a lot of horrible things. I was 13 and being called, slurs by adults. And I was suicidal for a very long time because of this mistreatment I received. And I'm one of the lucky ones. We have a responsibility to make sure that trans kids feel safe, happy, and protected. And if they are out here and listening to this, they are safe, happy, and protected. You just have to make sure that you remember to love other people.
Yeah. Mom, if you could say anything to parents that either they're going through it or maybe they're not, at this moment at 7:49 in the morning, they don't know that their child's gay, but by tonight when the child comes home, they're about to get hit with a Mack truck. What would you say to them?
It's terrifying. it's scary, but there's community out there. There is support. You know, we love Equality Texas, TENT, which is Trans Education Network of Texas, and the local Pride Center is fabulous, a fabulous resource. I know that for me, there are Facebook groups. So Mama Bears is
That's awesome.
yeah. Mama Bears on Facebook has gotten me through some tough times.
Right.
And it's just, sometimes it feels so isolating, especially the way people talk about trans people. And so it's nice to have community out there who's going through the same thing.
Do you have other children?
Yes.
Okay, and older or younger than you, Charlie?
17.
Okay, so and how did that sibling take this?
My sibling's gay too.
Obviously, Mom, there's something in your cooking happening here.
I mean, it ended up going basically like I did all the hard stuff. I got parents
like,
prepped for
whatever.
You were the fullback, went through the line, and meanwhile, Emmett was able to go through. Hey, guess what? Hermano, yeah.
You're
Okay.
like,
Yeah, welcome to the club, kid. Yeah. All right.
And I mean, I think the big thing people need to remember is we talk so much about the horrible parts of being trans.
Here, come on up to the mic.
But it is beautiful to see a child come into themselves and like fully realize like this is who I am and I'm happy and I'm going to, you know, be bright and beautiful and like just an amazing person.
but it takes affirming people in their life to get to that happy joy part.
Yeah.
Because the statistics are overwhelmingly horrible about what happens when children are not affirmed.
Trans children have some of the highest suicide rates out of any teens or children, but those rates are cut in half when they have just one affirming adult in their life.
Which can be a teacher, you know, a
somebody.
neighbor,
Right.
family
Anyone.
member, anybody.
Right.
And I guarantee that those legislators that were for all those horrible bills, they literally are for upping that rate of suicide. I believe that about them. I believe that in my heart. I'm saying it right now.
It is really interesting because being in these meetings, which we often are, and seeing these legislators talk about trans issues, one of the big things they've been harping on this session was that trans kids do not commit suicide more than other kids. And if they do, it is because they are trans, not because of how they are treated. Because they do not want to be seen as the type of people who want kids to commit suicide.
Yeah.
But it's hard to go against that whenever they are cutting suicide prevention measures for transgender kids. Because the biggest thing about underage medical treatment, it is medical treatment to make sure that these kids have quality of life. I received it, and it was life-changing. It was brilliant. It's great to become a man of your own making.
But,
you know, we had guidance, and these things take years. There are lots of hoops to jump through to get there. You have to be in therapy for a certain amount of time. You have to get a letter from a therapist. We also had a pediatrician supporting us, and we actually... There's not a lot of care available here locally, so Charlie, we would make treks all the way up to Dallas because we were so concerned. We wanted him to get the best care possible because we didn't know much about it, so we wanted to make sure we were doing the right thing. And the thing is that, I mean, we're under a gender-affirming care ban right now, so those clinics are closing. Those doctors are leaving the state. And that care is no longer available.
I mean, the doctor who saw me since I was like, 15 or so, is no longer in the state. She just left because she had to.
Wow. All right. Well, this is just the beginning of a conversation, and I thank you so much, Charlie. I thank you, Mom, all right, for both of you coming in here and allowing us to just kind of hop in your hot seat there just for a second, because it's a conversation that's not going to stop. It's a conversation that's not going to go away. And I wish you the best. All right. And as I always like to say, mi casa es su casa. So this is a safe place.
Thank you.
All right.
And thank you for having us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There you go, kids. That's Charlie and Adair on Pudge Nation. And thank you for coming by. All right. We will resume the party right after this.